Welcome back to Russia Up Close. Very glad to see you. I'm Joe.
And I'm Eddie. And this is episode 4.
Episode 4.
Wow.
Welcome back. Come on in.
Come on in. Enjoy the conversation. We've got some good conversations coming up for you in just a moment.
What do we have going on in Russia?
Oh, man, let me tell you. President Putin dropped the pen, and Roblox has been banned in Russia. And why have they been banned?
You know, it's actually interesting because you just told me that, and I had no idea that that had actually just happened. But I had been seeing some videos online recently. I think it was on the Sean Ryan show. Sean Ryan. And he was commenting, and they were just doing this little infographic of Roblox and the kind of garbage that's going on in there. I mean, the predators that are there, the horribly indecent conversations, and the comment was made, if you're a real parent, if you're a good parent, why the heck would you ever let your children on Roblox? Well, I don't think Putin was listening to the Sean Ryan show. I think he has his own sources of information.
I'm sure he does, but specifically had to do with LGBT propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Banned in Russia, by the way.
Banned in Russia, by the way. So, when do you think America will ban? Banned?
Oh, freedom of speech, baby. Freedom of speech. That's, we should, it's freedom for all, libertarianism. We should have everything and anything under the sun.
Don't infringe on my rights.
Especially the right of a 5-year-old.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they have rights. They're born with unalienable rights.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be able to practice them. Oh, my. No, I mean, again, Russia is on the march again for protecting children in Russia. What a concept. What an idea.
What a concept. Protect the family, protect your children. This is how a country grows because children are the future.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. What else we got?
That's a no-brainer. Well, I'll tell you what.
People loving this segment, by the way, of Eddie's. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what. Witkoff and Jared Kushner were just in Russia last week. And by the time this airs, we may know what they discussed with Putin. But I'm very impressed with CNN because CNN came out with this headline that President Putin sent Witkoff and Jared Kushner packing from Russia. Mind you, it was after a 5-hour meeting. So who sits in a meeting for 5 hours and then summarily dismisses everybody and just go home?
Just go home.
Yeah.
It was probably just a long dinner.
Yeah.
They flew in for that.
This is CNN,
Yeah.
by the way. So go figure. Yeah, so they were sent home packing after a 5-hour long meeting. So
I'm sure it was from a very reliable source.
absolutely, absolutely. But, Kirill Dmitriev, he's President Putin's or Russia's special envoy to the United States on this particular topic. And, he's well, I was about to say, but I'll go ahead and say it. He's just killing it.
The guy is really active. It's actually really interesting to see somebody taking their phone around with them and snapping pictures of history, regardless of whether or not you like that history, right into the inner sanctums, and is showing up here on X. He's a very interesting person to follow, somewhat controversial figure, definitely somebody who's pulling for peace. That's a very controversial topic nowadays. But
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
And there were a couple of photos that I saw on X that have been circulating around of Witkoff and Kushner and Kirill Dmitriev by the Bolshoi Theater. Mm-hmm. They were not blocked off. There was not huge amount of security that we could see in the photograph because, well, they're in Russia and it's safe.
Yeah, that's it. You could reach out and touch them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of what's going on, how about Candace Owens?
Hey.
Hey.
She is absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it. And it sounds like TPUSA has had enough. They can't. We've been squirming for a little too long. They finally decided to tell the truth, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so they have challenged Candace Owens to a debate to bring the receipts. And I don't know if they thought she would bluff or whatever, but she accepted.
Yeah. I'm hopeful. I know that she's extraordinarily courageous.
Absolutely.
But I'm hopeful that there isn't, let's just call it an ambush.
Right.
And I hope, and I meant that very clearly in a more metaphorical sense, not so much the literal sense, please God. But from a metaphorical sense, I mean, there are several people that they could walk out on that stage that could really redraw the lines of this controversy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But this is huge. And if Candace says she has the receipts, I tend to believe her.
I do too.
I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So
never struck me as a bluffer.
Yeah, never.
So let's jump in. Here we are on Russia Up Close.
Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
And now I'm going to introduce you to a new friend and our first guest, Viktor Titov. Viktor was the chief chef of the Kremlin several years ago. He is a brand chef, and now he's involved into the spice market and building his own product lines. With no further ado, Chef Titov.
Здравствуйте, Виктор.
Привет, мы уже познакомились. Спасибо, что позвал.
Ура! Очень приятно, очень приятно.
Потрясающе выглядишь.
Шеф Титов.
Yes.
Да?
Да.
Отлично. I'm sorry that I don't speak enough Russian to speak to you fluently in Russian yet, but we will have this interview. I will ask you the questions in English and we will proceed.
No problem.
No problem.
I'm Russia, speak Russia.
Отлично.
English, speak English.
Отлично.
In Russia, you don't show up to someone's home empty-handed. We have a national dish called pelmeni.
Да, пельмени.
They're boiled in water, but for the longest time, no one could create the right seasoning for them. You know, I should probably introduce myself first, right? So the viewers know who I am. I'm an international level brand chef, a chef who has overseen several inaugurations for the president of the Russian Federation. I opened a restaurant in Bahrain, a 5-star Crown Plaza in that very building. 3 months later, the king's son tried some of the food, and they gifted us another restaurant.
Да, он любит пельмени.
Yes, he does. Of
Да?
course. Seriously?
О, серьезно? Интересно. Отлично. Отлично. Молодец.
I also opened a landmark restaurant in Belarus, in the capital city, Minsk. I opened a restaurant there called Le Biagy, which is famous because it's frequented by Lukashenko.
Wow.
In China, I also ran the kitchen at a hotel where the return on investment is 200 years. That's in the city of Qingdao.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. When you say you are the chef of the Kremlin, what does that practically mean?
There's no room for error.
Everything must be perfect, yes?
Yes.
So but what I mean to say is when you say you are the chef of the Kremlin, does that mean that you cook directly for the president on a daily basis, on a regular basis for main functions? What kind of activities is the head chef of the Kremlin doing? Are you studying the food that the president likes, etc., like this?
Perhaps you've heard of a man named Prigozhin.
Mm-hmm, da.
He didn't do the cooking himself. I was his top chef. And I could only leave the city, whether it was St. Petersburg or Moscow, with his official signature and explicit written permission. I am not, nor have I ever been, the president's personal day-to-day chef responsible for preparing his meals on a regular basis. Only for events with paparazzi, where filming was required, when guests or another president arrived, I would always be there. The Economic Forum in Switzerland, in the city of Davos, maybe.
Davos, да, я понял, да.
The Economic Forum.
Wow.
Yes, every year.
I ate your food then, just several months ago, and so did my partner Eddie. We were both there. Очень вкусно.
Very tasty.
Очень.
Very, very, very.
You cook for the main events that are hosted or sponsored by the president. So you're in big part responsible for the image of the president in the public.
Yes, it was always a public event, and it was especially important to know. For example, we know that at a reception, guests from Qatar are arriving. That means the ice cream will be served in the shape of a moon with a star.
Ah, interesting. So it is not the taste of the food, but the presentation and the design, the everything about this. It's so, Victor, I'm sorry you have so many amazing and interesting stories. I can only believe what you have seen and done and everything. But I got to know you brought all these wonderful gifts for us. I wasn't expecting this at all. But can you please describe this for our audience? These beautiful gifts that you brought.
I'd like everyone to know, just to be clear and as a point of clarification, for example, that a Russian never arrives empty-handed, just as you probably always show up with a bottle of wine.
Wow.
At one time, Coca-Cola actually added cocaine in the past.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Then they were forbidden and they started adding coca leaves. Then they were forbidden from using coca leaves. They add tonka beans.
Tonka beans.
They never reveal the full composition of Coca-Cola, no one knows.
Да?
I break down any dish to its molecules. This is the main ingredient that goes into Coca-Cola.
This is it. You found the secret.
Yes.
Wow, this smells exactly like it.
When I smelled them in Venezuela, I was just, no way, I've been looking for these my whole life.
Exactly this. Wow. I learned something I never thought I would ever learn about Coca-Cola, and I learned it in Russia. Amazing.
After Prigozhin was no longer around, after he disappeared from the scene, I have no work left to do, and I started getting into spices.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, really interesting. So what else? What else is this?
Well, since I'm a professional chef and I know how to combine products, I want to show people the spice market in Russia is completely untapped. People don't understand how to use any ingredient. For example, cherry. Cherries grow only in Russia. You can't find them in America or anywhere else.
Нужно. Wow. Wow. I never thought I would smell the salt and the cherry at the same time, but
I do things that others cannot even truly imagine are possible. I invented birch pelmeni. In a birch tree, there is birch sap. Yes, you combine two techniques, Chinese and Russian. In China, they scald the dough for pelmeni. So I took birch sap and scalded the dough. And I colored the dough itself with cuttlefish ink to make it look like a birch tree.
whoa.
Without damaging the tree, I carefully took old birch bark, burned it, and used it to prepare a creamy sauce for these pelmeni. Inside, there's Kamchatka crab and a little shrimp.
Wow.
Naturally, we serve it with beluga caviar. No one in Russia has invented a seasoning for pelmeni, even though it's a national dish.
Sure. Okay, and this,
Smell it. I've only just started developing it.
you add it to the boiling water. Oh, I see. Like a packet like this?
Yes.
So now just the pelmeni itself, now the dough has a flavor now too.
Yes.
You don't need anything else, just a liter of water. That's it.
This is reminds me of like even like a familiar the most familiar smell I can give to this is like close to ramen almost.
Yes.
There are some similarities.
yes.
There's some
Yes.
similarities. Yes. Oh, it smells so good though. Oh wow. This needs to be in Gum. This is like some of the most amazing smells I have smelled in my whole life. I have also been in Europe. I eaten from Michelin star chefs in Malta, etc. But wow, just as far as a pure ingredient, I don't think I've ever smelled anything like this in my whole life. Like this is blowing my mind.
When I go to Michelin-starred restaurants, God willing, out of 3 restaurants, I like at least one delicious dish. And if I like it, I wait until it gets damn cold. They come out, they're always saying something to me. They might have to reheat it 10 times.
The reason why I'm asking you so much, like, how do I find these products? You know, we're going to have to you're going to have to sell them to me out the back of a truck because I have 8 children. Yes. And I have to cook for all of these children. And I need to find out how to get as many products of yours as possible, like wholesale, something like this.
You'll have to.
You mentioned Prigozhin several times. So let me understand first, before I ask you, I have some questions about this. First question that I have is, could you again clarify in your daily life with Prigozhin, what was this relationship? You are the head chef and Prigozhin what is this relationship?
We know the date, as you might have noticed. So that means, Vitya, look, at some point on a certain date, there will be a certain event. We do this, that, and the other. In other words, he wrote out the entire menu. Yes, just the names. What I'm really trying to say is, just imagine for a moment a small, cozy restaurant, right? It's actually quite hard to fully grasp the scale when you have this entire structure in mind. The country's whole elite, all the top schools, kindergartens, major events like the Universiade, and even the Olympics. In this situation, you're like the boss, the leader, the head of all the different teams, and you truly know how everything works together. But if we take just one small restaurant, for example, you're the owner. I handle the kitchen. Someone else handles management. Someone has to actually build the restaurant, making sure every detail is perfect. Someone else has to carefully arrange for an important person, perhaps a celebrity or a well-known figure, to come and visit our restaurant. That's truly a huge amount of work and responsibility for the boss, which it's just one person, of course, handling all of this. It really is a lot for one individual to manage, don't you think? I mean, I'm just a link in the chain. Honestly, I really don't want to take all of the credit for this, to be fair. No, I'm just telling it like it is.
Just so I make sure I understand correctly. So there's Prigozhin, who is in charge of serving the food on a daily basis to the president, but you are in charge of the main kitchen. You're in charge of everything, over everything. So Prigozhin would be considered your employee, or is he a peer in this relationship?
No, of course, he's the employer. Prigozhin only showed up when there were journalists around. If we go back to that question, well, let's say it was a big hierarchy. You might think it's just Putin and that's it. No. They were already feeding everyone. And I just corrected mistakes, directed efforts, taught important lessons, held things together, and supported whenever it was needed. Well, if you think working for a person like that is easy, then let me tell you, it's really not. Every day brought new challenges, and it took a lot of patience and determination to keep going. It's far from simple, and anyone who's been in that position knows how demanding it can truly be. He just kept everyone in fear. Everyone was afraid of him like fire. Honestly, only the stupid ones were afraid. Those who don't love their profession or do something wrong. Well, or those who were stealing. There were a lot of those.
So you have somebody who is kind of the dictator of the kitchen, but he recognizes who has love for their job, who has a passion for their job.
He carefully observes and takes note of those who never make mistakes. And he deeply respects them. If something is not right, he simply says, "See that sterlet swimming in the aquarium? Well, if something's missing, tomorrow you'll be swimming in there."
It's so Russian. I absolutely love it. It's, you know, something terrifying and something very endearing at the same time. I think, you know, they say that Hollywood completely destroyed, you know, the vision of who a Russian is, and mostly it's true. But there are some key elements like the fear of God that is instilled in people that Russians somehow know how to do.
There are a million stories like that, as usual. You prepare one thing, you get another, and that happens regularly. For example, you arrive in Yekaterinburg, and Yevgeny Viktorovich wrote on the menu cream of white asparagus soup. What about white asparagus in Yekaterinburg? In the cold winter season, naturally what you actually get is celery root, it's cauliflower. I remember for sure that for that soup, when he tried it, they gave me a 200,000 ruble bonus. Back then, that was about $5,000.
Wow.
I can't really say for sure if that was a lot or just a little for us back then. It's honestly different for everyone. But you know, when you think you're about to get chewed out, and instead you receive a bonus, that bonus for you is just wow.
It's very big, no matter who.
Every time there are some stories, and each one is more colorful than the last. The most important thing to remember is that it's always, and I really mean always,
Я не знаю, как это происходит
I don't know
вообще.
how it happens really, but when you love what you do, when you're a pro, for everyone else it seems like, wow, this is everything. But for me, it's just routine, something that, for me, there's nothing to it. It's like I said about the plates, just heat them up at home.
Oh, отлично. Look, again, I am so very excited for future cooperation with you and to taste your wonderful cooking, to taste your wonderful products. I'm very excited about all of this. This was a wonderful, tremendous surprise. We're very grateful to our mutual friend Olga for bringing us together. And wow, I really hope that we have many more opportunities to see you again. And maybe we'll be able to show our audiences how you perform your art.
Absolutely. I'm all for it. I'd be glad to.
Отлично. Last point. You are on which platforms?
I have a YouTube.
YouTube?
I have 170,000. I don't know how it happens. They just come on their own, really. I'm serious. If you look at it, I didn't even try. We don't even have monetization.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Вообще,
Well, I hope very, very much that we can do our best to contribute to your great success. I wish you all the best, and we hope to see you again very soon.
I don't really know exactly why, but honestly, I'm absolutely sure, without any doubt at all, that I'll definitely be famous on the international stage, 100% for sure. I once made a vegan Anna Pavlova while I was living in Spain. It's not difficult to do, but for some reason it always causes such a sensation. When you drain the water from canned peas, you can add sugar to it, whip it up, and bake it at 90 degrees for 3 hours. It's a meringue that just melts in your mouth. I guess it will be bold and crisp right up until a drop of moisture hits it. When you make that dessert, its serving life is 20 minutes because it melts right before your eyes.
Отлично. Очень приятно.
Спасибо.
Спасибо вам.
I cannot tell you the pleasure it was and what a surprise it was that Victor showed up with so many of his recipes and so many of his products for us to actually taste in person. It was completely unexpected, actually. But wow, I wish you were here in the studio to actually taste these various different ingredients and recipes that he brought here. It's a truly incredible thing. I've never tasted anything like what I tasted while talking to him. He was such a great and gregarious personality. You can see on his social media channels that he has such a tremendous passion for his art. To be able to sit with somebody and have a friendly conversation for somebody who cooked for people way above my pay grade was a real honor and privilege. We really appreciated him coming on to the show. In fact, he even discussed with us the idea, the concept, nothing set in stone, but perhaps that he could start a segment on Russia Up Close, showing us how to cook several different Russian dishes on the show. Tell us in the comments if you think that you would like to see such a segment. And now, let's get this show on the road with I Tell You What, with Eddie Gonzalez.
I'll tell you what, Americans have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to history, and not because we aren't smart, and not because we don't care, but because we've been conditioned, trained, to believe that anything older than the iPhone might as well be ancient Mesopotamia. Most Americans can't place 9/11 on a timeline anymore. Half the country thinks the Cold War ended in 2008 when the first iPad hit the shelves. And ask someone under 30 what happened before World War II, you'll get a 1,000-yard stare and a guess involving dinosaurs and Abraham Lincoln sharing coffee. But here's the kicker. Here's the part we never get told. Russia saved the United States twice. Not once, twice. When America was young, fragile, and uncertain. At moments when one wrong move could have ended the whole experiment. Now, you won't find that in most textbooks because it doesn't fit the modern narrative. So let me take you back, way back, before TikTok, before the CIA started trademarking color revolutions like seasonal coffee flavors, back to when the United States was barely a country at all. 1776. The Revolutionary War was not a Hollywood movie. We were broke, outgunned, and hanging on by a thread. Britain controlled the seas, controlled global credit, and controlled Europe. We weren't a nation. We were an idea with a few angry farmers holding muskets. Now enter quietly the Russian Empire. Now while King George was tightening the noose, Catherine the Great refused to join Britain's anti-American blockade. Russia recognized our right to fight, our right to exist, our right to breathe. And she organized the League of Armed Neutrality, basically telling Britain, you don't own the oceans. Without that, Britain strangles us economically, it's war over. America never gets born. Your grandchildren grow up singing God Save the King instead of watching football and drinking a cold beer on the 4th of July. Now, Russia didn't fire bullets for us, but she shackled the British Navy with diplomacy and steel, and that bought us time. Time to survive, time to win. America owes its birth, in part, to St. Petersburg, not just Philadelphia. Now, fast forward. America is tearing itself apart again. North versus South, brother versus brother. Europe is circling like vultures waiting on a carcass. France is ready to back the Confederacy. Britain, too, because a divided America, as we well know, is a weak America. Two small powers are much easier to push around than one rising giant. Then, without fuss or theatrics, Tsar Alexander II sends the Russian fleet to New York and San Francisco, not to invade, but to send a message. The bayonets weren't pointed at us, they were pointed for us. Those ships told London and Paris, if you intervene, if you break America in two, you will answer to Russia. No European power dared to cross that line. Lincoln understood the weight of that moment. He thanked the Russians. He welcomed their officers. He knew who stood with the Union when it mattered most. So again, Russia held the line, not for ideology, not for gratitude, but for balance. But because a strong, united America balanced the world, and Russia, in her own interest, defended. Just like in 1776, Russia quietly made sure the United States lived to see another sunrise. Two nations, two histories, two peoples that are now told to hate each other by people who profit from division. We forgot that not long ago. Russia and America didn't just coexist. We benefited from each other at decisive moments. But Americans don't know this history. History isn't taught as heritage anymore. It's curated as narrative. Generations pass, memories fade, and the same elites who write history get to rewrite it. That's why I'm sitting here today, because sometimes you've got to dust off the attic, open the old trunk, and remind people what's inside. The United States, twice, was steadied by a hand from the East, not as puppet, not as enemy, but as a counterweight. And the question for our time is simple. If history brought us together when the stakes were highest, why are we determined to forget it now? Why does every headline want us to believe conflict is destiny? Why does every politician talk like cooperation is treason? Maybe the relationship between our nations isn't doomed. Maybe we're just historically illiterate. And maybe, just maybe, the future could rhyme with the past, because America was stronger when it stood on its own feet, and Russia was respected, not feared. We've done this before. We've survived together once, then twice, and who's to say we don't need a third time? I'm Eddie, and this is I'll Tell You What. And I'm just asking questions history has already answered.
I'll tell you what. Thanks a lot, Eddie. For our next guest, we have our lovely friend and French YouTuber, Gabrielle. Gabrielle is a YouTuber here in Russia. She has been here for several years now. She does all kinds of video on her channel, but she speaks mainly and directly to French audiences. But now she comes to our studio to grace us with her presence and her thoughts, thankfully in English. Gabrielle Duvoisin. So here we are at Russia Up Close. We are here with Gabrielle Duvoisin, more or less.
Almost.
It's always almost.
Yeah.
But yes, we're here with Gabrielle. Gabrielle, you came and we were shocked. You had this beautiful costume with you, and we said you must put this costume on. This is amazing. It was such a beautiful costume. Can you tell us a little bit about this costume and why you brought this with you today?
So it's the costume of Vasilisa the Wise, who is a character from fairy tales, Russian fairy tales. So she's very widely known in Russia because she's supposed to be a very pure princess who earns the prince because of the purity of her spirit. And I decided to wear it today because I'm preparing a video for my YouTube channel about Russian fairy tales. So I went to Kolomyanskoye, which is a very beautiful place not very far from you, where I was filming in this dress.
Wow, that's fantastic. What a really cool theme. You know, it's so nice coming over here. We have costumes in the States, and these things are made very cheaply. And, you know, everybody like orders them for their kids for like Halloween or something like this. And it's just cheap. But you come over here and you can actually attain these beautiful, like, attention to detail, this beautiful fabrics. You could tell that it's a good quality and how it's put together. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, this one is really wonderful, and there is details everywhere, like so many pearls fitted to it. Yeah,
wow,
I love it. I want to keep it.
Yeah, you should.
I want to dress like this every day.
If only women wanted to do this every day, I think the world would change immediately.
Yes, but to be fair, it's not so practical. Like if you want to do anything, it's kind of but maybe it's worth it. We should think about it.
Yeah, we think about it. My daughters, they would do this every day.
Oh, I know. I can guess.
You know, that is the beautiful thing about children, right? There's no expectations. They come into this world like a white canvas. And whatever you put on this, they have no expectations. They don't know what's practical, what's not practical, what is, you know, this, you teach it to them.
Yes, but they know what is beautiful, though. They can tell and they want it, usually.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's an important question. How in this world, you know, I think about this quite a lot because I have 3 daughters, and I tell them all the time, you know, your mission in life is to bring the true and the beautiful into the world. Women bring this flavor of the life into the world. Men go to work every single day, la la la. Okay, women do too, but men, we're not motivated without you having our women being, you know, the best that they can be. And it's a true inspiration. So I'm very glad that you brought this costume with us, with you today. That is fantastic. So you came to France. You have a YouTube channel, yes? And your YouTube channel, is it just your name, Gabrielle?
Gabrielle Duvoisin. Yeah, it's this.
Duvoisin.
Yes.
Duvoisin. I'm getting closer. You know, I named all of my daughters French, and still I can't pronounce it correctly. I'm always corrected, but so you can find you on YouTube, yes?
Yes, it's mainly on YouTube, but I speak in French, and usually many Russians actually watch my channel because they became interested in knowing what a French girl has to say about Russia. But at first, I was really doing my content for the French, just to show the beauty of Russia, everything that I see here. I wanted to show it to the West, firstly to my family, my parents, who still don't really understand why I'm here. So, and then to my friends, and then to the whole France if they want to watch it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I've seen several of your videos, and I've seen a lot of English videos that you've also done for other channels like Russian Road, as an example. And one thing that struck me particularly was how you are almost dispelling the myth of, well, not dispelling the myth, just giving people a clearer vision. You're a very honest person. You're very forthright.
about what it is that you say. You say exactly what you think. At least it very much seems this way. Is that-
No, it's the case. I also criticize Russia actually pretty often, and I do it especially on my Telegram channel because there I have many Russians who listen to me. So then I also, I want to, because there are some things that not everything is black and white, and I feel like sometimes foreigners who come to Russia have this expectation that their life is going to be solved because they just arrived in a more traditional country. But actually, some aspects of life in Russia are not so traditional, and I think it's really important to speak about it so that people know really what they are coming into when they arrive in Russia.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned about I noticed to Russians when you're speaking to Russians, you were kind of saying this about French women. There's this mystique that the French woman still to this day somehow has been able to maintain this mystique, or at least now we have legends about the French women in comparison with the Russian women. How would you compare? What are the main differences between the Russian woman and the French woman?
I think that French women changed a lot for the past maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 years. So if I look at my grandmother, she's the perfect image of the French woman who is always very elegant, very well dressed. But nowadays, if you walk around in the cities of France, it's not exactly the same picture. People wear the same as everybody else, as Americans, for example, and Russians, or maybe more feminine. For several reasons. First of all, because it's part of the culture in Russia. Women must always look beautiful and look feminine. Most of the time, at least, it's much more important for them than for us in France. They don't have this feminism or this maybe competition with the men that we have in the West. So that's one of the reasons. But then the second reason, of course, is that here is much more safe. So you can actually afford to wear a dress and not be catcalled by guys in the street. So that's probably a very big reason why women look so beautiful here, because they can afford it. I mean, it's not dangerous to look too beautiful in the street.
Yeah, no, I've even had friends, girls back in the States in the past that have been told, please don't come to France and wear a dress. You're asking for trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
To do this. It's certainly, like you say, it's not the case here in Russia.
Well, when I meet Russian women who tell me that they really, really want to go to Paris, I'm trying to tell them, like, be careful, please be careful. Don't go out in the evening alone in a short dress and so on, because not only the French men are not necessarily going to be super polite about it, because in France, you're not supposed to be too feminine or maybe to attract too much attention with your femininity. It's not a good thing, even among the French themselves. But then we have so many migrants who could be aggressive to you that they don't really seem to listen to me anyway, so I don't know what to do, how to protect them when they go to the West. I think they don't realize how dangerous it can be.
I think it's also true for Americans as well. I think Americans have this, again, starry eyes about what life is like in France. I've been to Paris many times. I see exactly what you're saying, but you know, it's this is the problem of how the world is segmented. People who haven't traveled outside of their own country or traveled to specific countries, they just have only the stories, and this is extremely powerful, right? I mean, France has a glorious, great history, and one amazing contributions to the world. And still somehow that those stories have stayed alive, even though the reality is past.
Yes. Well, there is still a part of reality about it. For example, my grandmother lives in Normandy, it's, to the northwest. So it's still much more preserved than the big cities in France. And it's still pretty agreeable to live there. Actually, more agreeable to live. It's more agreeable to live in a French village than a Russian village for now. Because I cannot pronounce this word in English, infrastructure in French, infrastructure is so difficult.
Yes.
Is much better in small cities in France than in Russia, but the trend is kind of changing. So that's why nowadays already our big cities are much less comfortable and less safe than big Russian cities. So things are changing slowly, and even though my grandma is safe for now, she tells me that in 10 years or 20 years she sees a difference already in, I don't know, how the city the safety in the city, for example.
So would you say that this is one of the main reasons why you came to Russia, or does this even rank on that? I know you'd never get asked this question, why you came to Russia.
Never.
But everything is different and whatnot. You seem to be very adventurous, certainly, and you want to see the world.
Yes.
But you could go anywhere in the world. Why is it that you think that you wanted to come to Russia?
I fell in love with the culture first, so it was not safety was not the main reason. I realized it afterwards, and I realize now that I would never go back to France because it feels so freeing to be able to do whatever I want and not feel threatened all the time. But to be honest, I lived in other countries before. I lived in Quebec for 7 months, and then in Sweden, in Germany, each time for about 6 months, in Poland, and when I finally arrived in Russia after my studies, I how do you say that in English? Immediately understood that I wanted to stay here because, first of all, the culture, I love it. The fact that there is no political correctness here. I can speak openly. This is something that I missed a lot in Germany, for example, where I had to censor myself all the time. It makes me tired. There's so many reasons actually to come to Russia. I love the people here who are very open. You can have very deep conversation with them, even in the night train, for example, where you don't know anyone. Just randomly, you start a conversation and people open up very fast. So I love it, and people are very generous also.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said because that's exactly how we found it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we came, my family and I came for very specific ideological reasons, but then you start finding a multiplicity of reasons why you would never want to leave this country. It's just there's a tremendous sense of freedom, which is, of course, tremendously ironic because all we're told is that it's the least free country in the whole wide world, you know? Just fascinating like this.
Yes, I get a lot of this question about freedom, by the way, be it from the French or from the Russians, because the Russians themselves, they are still convinced that for some reason they're not free here compared to what we have in the West. And constantly I have to explain to them like why I feel so free here in Russia. Just even the point about security and safety, it's already a huge thing when you don't have to think about your safety each time you go out of your house. This is really freedom to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then the material freedom, you can like order something and in 30 minutes it's going to be in front of your door. You don't even have to think about it. In France, all of our shops are closed on the weekend, for example, on the Sunday. And this is, we don't really think about this when you think about freedom, but still it's a little bonus point. So you can speak your mind pretty openly here, whereas in France, if you say the word migrants, already everybody's like, who is this fascist girl? So yeah, I feel free here, really, on so many things. Also, just the fact that the transportation is on time. Like I went to Crimea, for example, 2 years ago, and it was 30 hours of train, and they arrived at the minute that was written on my ticket.
Wow.
In France, it would not go this way.
That way.
No.
All right. Well, I guess there's one. You talk a lot about the culture, about how the people are, about how the availability of safety for Russian women, etc. But I want to try to focus in just a little bit more on something somewhat philosophical. But the difference between femininity and feminism, is there a correlation here? Are they opposed to each other? Are they can work with each other? Are you of the opinion perhaps that maybe feminism isn't what people think they are? You defend feminism, but do you think that people have just misinterpreted it? Or is it maybe feminism has actually been a great contributor to the loss of femininity in this world?
Well, it really depends on what you imply when you use this word feminism, because in France it changed a lot. Like we are speaking about, I don't know, the fourth wave or something like this of feminism. And to me, this wave of feminism that we have in France and what we imply when we say feminism, it's absolutely against femininity and against women, because it's trying to change women into men and trying to erase everything that is feminine and all the feminine, more traditional qualities. And which is why I really feel like Russians have understood much better, Russian women understand much better what is feminism, maybe if we can call it that way, because here women manage to both, if they want to, they can have a career, they can have really great jobs, and I know many women around me who want that and they have it, and they can also have a family and give most of their time to this family if they want to, whereas in the West, in France, at least we are ashamed if we express the need for a family or the idea of having a more traditional family. I remember when I was studying in Montpellier in the south of France, I was studying in an engineering school. We were probably about 21, and I was the only one around me who was already saying at 21 that I want a family. I want to stay at home for a few years if I can when my kids are growing, because I want to provide the best for them and I don't want them to be raised by another woman who is not part of the family. And to me, it just makes more sense. And everybody around me was saying it was very career-oriented oriented women who were in this engineering school, and they were asking me, but why would you enslave yourself? Like, you're going to lose your whole life. Like, this is such a shame. You're going backwards for the cause of women. And we didn't really understand each other, to be honest. Yeah, on that point, it was pretty tough conversation. I think that probably they're going to wake up at some point and to realize maybe at 35 that they maybe should have kids also, because I think it's a natural thing for women. But I really don't like this brainwashing that we see in the West, that it's a shame for a woman to aspire more for a family than a career, which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, no, it's the most important point, right? I mean, again, French women have a grand history of being very strong, making sure that things happen the way that they should be, or at least the way that they want it to be, whichever, depending on this person, right? But either way, we look at Jeanne d'Arc. I mean, as a teenage girl, is commanding, intimidating French soldiers, who are the Le Bâtard de Orléans, just guy out of control, and she completely tames him as a teenager. I mean, it's really spectacular history that you have, and I think that when there's an interesting concept just between men and women, that women actually have this capability of stepping into a leadership or what you might say a traditionally masculine role, I guess you would say. Men don't have this inverse capability, right? We're limited biologically by this, right? Men can't be mothers. It's impossible. You can't, it doesn't make it work. Women can't be fathers. It's true, but they can certainly supplement a lot more in this direction to give the discipline, to give, all these other aspects that traditionally come from the father. And so in this capacity, you have this broader spectrum that you can increase and fulfill when the men aren't doing what the men should be doing, right? But it doesn't work the opposite way. Yeah. And, it's really sad because in this society, we've denigrated this idea that you referred to about the mother is the most important vocation in the world. Like, doesn't get higher than that. This is the continuation of our existence. And somehow this is seen as, okay, well, this is like a secondary, less important thing. No, in fact, really and truly, the jobs, I mean, men can say this, that, we wouldn't go to work if we didn't really have somebody to take care of or protect or support, etc. But there's so many people that think that the job is really the gold.
It just feels so much more natural when men are men and women are women, and they really try to fulfill what they were meant to. To me, at least, it feels much more natural. But I have 4 little sisters at home, and many of them are feminists, and they don't really get what I'm trying to say in this case. And yeah, they feel also that I'm kind of pushing backwards the condition of women. But for me, I was very close to my grandparents, who are more traditional. So it was a generation very traditional in France. And to me, it just makes more sense because my grandma knows that she is better staying at home and making the home very comfortable, like a real home. And my grandfather wanted to go out and to work and so on. And to me, it's just more logical that way. I observed them. I observed the next generation. I thought, okay, no, I'm going to be like my grandparents. That's what I want. I feel more feminine when I'm around men who know how to be real men and to be more masculine, and I just feel better that way. To me, it's more natural.
Oh, that's fantastic. Just in closing, could you told me a little bit before the show again about this character, but this character is interesting even for this topic.
Yes.
Because of her abilities and what she accomplished. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, because in the stories, for example, there is a story where she is against like this character, maybe you know her, Baba Yaga, who is like the witch, the nasty witch. And Vasilisa doesn't wait for a prince to be saved, like for example, Sleeping Beauty or Snow White. She actually is an active character. She's very feminine, and she brings something feminine into the story, but still she's not completely passive like in our fairy tales. So maybe, I don't know, maybe our fight between men and women in the West is much older than what we can see today, because maybe we don't appreciate what women can do and what they can do while still being women with the feminine qualities, which is still appreciated in Russian fairy tales also. Russians love femininity, they notice it and they compliment it and they love it. They speak about it as something that is precious, which we kind of forgot in the West.
Gabrielle, thank you again for being with us today. Would just like to ask you, what was your experience like here on Russia Up Close?
Very interesting conversation with you. I got to talk about a topic which is very dear to my heart, which is like women in the West and women in Russia. Comparing the two, to me, it's very interesting and very important for, especially for Westerners, to understand what it is like to be a woman in Russia.
Very important topic. Gabrielle, thank you so much for joining us
Merci.
today. Merci.
Very happy that Gabrielle joined us today. You know, it's really funny. She actually came in different clothes, but she was on her way. She had rented this costume to go do one of her educational videos about Russian culture. And you know what? It was, we insisted. She said, well, I have this costume. I was like, you absolutely are wearing that costume and doing the interview. So we're very grateful for her very good humor, for putting it on for us and showing us such a beautiful feminine costume. Was really added to the show, I thought. Gabrielle is a wonderful example of how immigrants should be and integrate. You know, back in the States, growing up, there was such a tremendous emphasis on immigrants actually integrating into the culture, into learning the language, and at least understanding the basics of what it is required to be an American. The Russians also take this extraordinarily seriously. And so it's very useful, and she is definitely a star in this regard. She picked up Russian so very quickly. I am just very impressed. Her Russian is quite excellent, and she is already diving into these cultural elements, these historical elements, and she is a wealth of knowledge in this direction. You should definitely check her channel out. You can watch them with subtitles, etc., but very fantastic content, and I highly recommend. You know, France is in a really bad way right now. The crime is tremendously high. It's a very dangerous place, especially for women. And I was very glad that Gabrielle put an accent on this and put a stress on this, that here in Russia, women are able to walk the streets of Moscow, as an example, without worrying about their personal security. It means a lot. And for those who have been to Paris know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just a lot of illegal immigration there. There's a tremendous amount of crime. There's a tremendous amount of dirt and grime and all this sort of stuff. It is just a very unpleasant place as a city, maybe not to visit for a few days, but to live in. It's a very different thing. And this, for Gabrielle, as she's told us herself, and as I've witnessed personally with my wife, with my children, as we walk around the streets of Moscow, it is a tremendously endearing thing about Russia and about the cities that are here, to be able to have that sense of safety and security. And now for our next guest, Konstantin Roskov. He also is known as Real Reporter, or was known before they took him offline, because his reporting was a little too in-depth and a little too much information that people were not supposed to know. He also used to work for RT and has a background in videography as well as on reporting, which allows him, even as a one-man show, to create world-class reporting for his viewers. With no further ado, Konstantin Roskov.
Well, we're here today with Konstantin. Konstantin, thank you so much for joining us today. You're also known as a Real Reporter. This is somebody who spends a lot of time asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of reports, interviewing other people. We thought today we would turn the tables on him and ask him the questions about his job, his work, and what you do as Real Reporter.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
Привет, Konstantin. Как дела?
Все хорошо. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for coming.
Learning Russian.
For those of you who don't know Konstantin, you should know Konstantin. His channel, Real Reporter, was an amazing YouTube channel with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And unfortunately, in this world of censorship, decided to say that freedom of speech does not apply to everybody equally. Some pigs are more equal than others, maybe.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, Konstantin.
So my YouTube channel, which had over 330,000 subscribers, I had it up until this August. It had been up for 3 years. I got a lot of videos, millions of views actually and that was shut down by YouTube. Not much explanation was provided by the platform. They just took it down overnight, and well, technically, my appeal is still pending. So technically, it's not over yet. But I have no hope for that.
Yeah.
I think I got to move on.
So you went from YouTube, you had to restart, and where did you go?
So right now I'm present on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Telegram, also on Rumble.
Okay.
Something that I should have done a long time ago, just kind of put all my eggs into various baskets. Yeah, I was pretty stupid for not doing this earlier, and that came biting me. So yes, please do follow me there. I'm on X, Real Reporter X, on Telegram, just Real Reporter. And on Instagram and TikTok, I'm Konstantin Reporter, because Real Reporter was already taken there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Fanboy somewhere.
Yeah. No, it was so interesting because someone actually took some of the videos of mine and then reposted it on TikTok and then on Instagram. So those nicknames were taken. But again, those channels they're not very, there are not a lot of views. There's not going on with that. But they do take my nickname. So it's too bad.
Yeah, no, this is the new world we live in, right? YouTube has gained such a level over the years that if you're not on YouTube, this is really not a great thing. And now they can just cut whoever they want out and just say, community guidelines, you violated them. We don't have to explain, but hey.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may, because I've been giving this a lot of thought. So YouTube is a private company, and whenever they kick someone out, they always go like, well, we're a private company. These are our rules. And it's the same as, for instance, I'm a bar owner, and I don't want to serve you. I have the right to do so, right? And I get that logic, right? But at the same time, it's okay if I got kicked from one bar because there were plenty of other bars, but it's not the case with YouTube. Moreover, this platform has grown into something like a public utility more so than just an entertaining platform. We get news from YouTube. There's a lot going on, and people actually live off their YouTube income. So it's not just, we're not there for cats like we used to back in 2010 or whatever. So I don't think that rule should be applied as with that bar analogy. And another thing is what I already mentioned, that a lot of people live off their income. And I, built my YouTube channel into a pretty successful business model. I got a lot of sponsorship lined up. I finally got my channel monetized, which is such a pain if you are a content creator in Russia. And I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
So I got that figured out. And, at that high point of my YouTube career, they just shot me down. And okay, say you are an employer and, you can be laid off, right? Because you're a bad employee or whatever. But even in that case, you can have your day in court and you can try to fight that decision, right? And you can at least have your employer a full and detailed explanation of why you're no longer wanted at this company. Again, this is not the case with YouTube because they shut my channel down without giving me any explanation. Like you mentioned, they said, well, you violated our guidelines. And then you click on the guidelines and then, wow, you got 200 more pages. So, good luck figuring out which one of the guidelines you actually violated. So I don't think it's fair, but I guess one should not expect any fairness out of this.
No, and that's not the world that we live in. There's a lot of talk about democracy, and I'm pretty sure that people don't understand the meaning of the word anymore anyways. So this is not, we all have a say in the situation. Things are still organized into various autocracies and oligarchies and all these sorts of things, regardless of the business sphere, the political sphere. Somehow it's always like this wherever you go in the world, somehow.
Yeah. The reason I went into this warfare content in the last 6 months of my YouTube, it's not just because I love this stuff, not necessarily, but this is also goes into how YouTube and social media platforms work. we spoke about how Russia was put into the spotlight because of the war and sanctions. So in the first year of my YouTube, I did videos about sanctions and their impact, and groceries, and a lot of people would do the same, and we would get tons of views and millions of views, but then it stopped. It stopped somewhere in 2023 because people, I guess, were fed up. They kind of got the gist of it, and they were ready to move on, the audience. And then I moved to filming stories of foreigners who moved to Russia, because back then, again, it was kind of a hot trend, and there were so many stories of people moving to Russia, of being disillusioned with how things go in the U.S. or Europe. And of course, a lot of people were curious, like, how is it possible that of all places you go into Russia, that is in war with Ukraine and is one of the most sanctioned countries in the world? So I did a lot of stories on that, and that again kind of put my channel back on track. But even this topic faded again in 2024. I just realized that I made 3 videos with Daniel, who is a former U.S. Marine from Siberia. The first 2 we did gained like combined almost 8 million views.
Wow.
But when we did the third video, where I went actually to his wedding in this provincial town, which I thought was really cool to see a provincial Russian wedding, we gained over 100,000 views. So that's when I realized, this topic is done. Not Daniel, he's a great guy, but just foreigners in Russia, kind of, people have seen enough. And this is another part of the social media that I had to learn the hard way, is that you can live off the same content every time. You got to evolve. And a lot of people kind of don't understand that from what I see from their work, because they are so focusing on the first things that brought them into that brought success to them. It's hard for them to let go, but sometimes you got to let go and just focus and try to talk about something else, or just kind of restructure your whole format. And this is how this whole warfare came into the spotlight, because I kind of sensed at that time that again, there was a huge demand for information about the Russian perspective of this war, and not the propaganda, who's winning, who's losing, who's right or wrong, because I think people made up their minds by that time already. But the technical stuff, right? You mentioned that we entered the age of drones, and the military technology evolved so dramatically. It's just crazy to think about. Sometimes I see, and I go over some of the footage from the initial days of the war, and everything looked so different from what we're seeing right now, how soldiers are dressed, their equipment, just things that were possible in 2022, where you would see soldiers kind of driving on top of an armored vehicle. It's non-existent anymore because of the drones. So much has changed. And then I kind of started to looking forward this military subject. Again, not because I wanted to advance any agenda on that. It's just because I felt as a content creator that this is where the demand is, and I have to meet it.
Absolutely.
And thanks to one of my thanks to my good friends who are still in journalism, who work for various TV networks in Russia, I made connections with that guy you mentioned, the drone developer, a great guy who's working on developing new technology in drone warfare. And so, we did this interview, and it kind of brought me again back on top.
Yeah.
So that was the third rebirth of my channel, and I guess the reason that I was able to run that long is because I was constantly keeping my finger on the pulse of what is in the hot trends at the moment, and what I can produce being a content creator in Russia. This is
Interesting.
Story. Yeah.
Interesting. I think the first video that I ever saw of yours was the big one in Park Pobedi with all of the ruined
tanks.
equipment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that caused quite a bit of controversy. That ended you up on some, if I recall, I remember seeing that clips from that video even on Western media, people critiquing it, people saying, "Oh, who's this guy?" You know, this sort of thing.
Yeah,
That caused quite a buzz, did it?
It did, yeah. Well, the video itself gained over 3.5 million views, and it gained over 1 million views in 24 hours. 4 hours, yeah. It was one and the only. It never ever had anything like that.
Yeah,
it was just, yeah. But then it draw attention from the outside world, and one of the guys, he's a YouTuber. He kind of did an expose on me, which was very silly. Yeah, some of the accusations that he had, that I try to conceal my Russian nationality, and then he berated me for not being good with articles, and all that, which I'm not. But
no,
again.
and then the response video that you made to that was like just like pure comedy gold. I love the humor that you put, and the work and effort you put into that. It was just like continuation of entertainment on something that was originally a very serious topic, and then it ended up just turning into like a comedy show afterwards.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting, and it got to show kind of the broad spectrum of your abilities, not just on reporting, but also to bring some humor into the situation. I really loved it. It was a lot of fun. So now that you're on X, what would you say are kind of some of the main differences between the platforms and the audiences that are on these platforms now that you've been on X for a little bit of time now?
It's a good question. I think on X, from what I've seen, is it's a lot about, well, first of all, on X, you don't have the algorithm as you have on YouTube. And there are pros and cons to that. The cons are that with the algorithm, you can have a chance of being a small channel and your video getting viral, because the algorithm somehow calculated that it has all the things that would make for a hit. On X, I feel like it's more of being part of a community, and for people to repost your work. And it's the same with Telegram. Telegram, which is a messaging app in Russia, but also it's kind of a news source in Russia, and it has all those news channels. It's the same. There's no algorithm. You get all the news in just the order of what was the first one.
Sure.
It's not like someone is pushing something on top of that. And well, it could be good in a sense that no one's messing with what you see on the home screen. But from this perspective of a content creator, it also makes it harder for you to, push through this initial phase where you need somehow to get from 0 followers to, say, 1,000. So talking about the differences in the audiences on YouTube and X, so that's a huge one you got to keep in mind. Also, it just feels like people are so much more into political stuff, and they're more angry. They would just run around leaving nasty comments, witty comments.
Yes.
There's so much sarcasm going on.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it's not just about you putting out content, but also taking part in this communal rage.
Yes, right, exactly.
I don't know.
You will continue kind of more along this kind of objective journalistic approach, or are you feeling like you want to get your own personal opinion out there a little bit more, since X allows you to kind of express yourself as you will?
Maybe I will. Maybe I should. Maybe it's like whenever I see something going on, sometimes I have, like this thought that, hey, this is ridiculous, or I can come up with a witty comment or something like that. Again, only my wife knows that. And she says I'm smart and that it was funny and all that. But back when I was on YouTube, no, I try to not emphasize what I think and kind of put in the spotlight what the person I'm doing this video about thinks, or just this concept, or whatever. Maybe I should move away from this. There's no harm in being opinionated on social media.
Sure.
A lot of people do this. It's just I realize though that if you're getting into this hot takes niche where you share your opinion, this also comes with certain rules and certain effort.
What would you say some of those key differences are? What do you feel as a Russian talking to an American audience? You connect very well with us. Of course, your English is fantastic, but like you something has clicked clearly inside of you for quite some time about how our minds, Western minds, work, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, if I had this magic wand where I could get into the minds of Americans and see what they really want to hear from that part of the world, I would be golden, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're right in the sense that every video that I used to post on YouTube, because the American audience is the premium audience that gets you the most monetization, and you should aim for it. Yeah, I always kept in the back of my mind how, well, I put out this video, will it be interesting for Americans, for, the Westerners in general? And a lot of the stuff that I did and how I structured my videos were responding to that thinking. Well, for instance, the interview with a drone developer, a Russian drone developer that you mentioned, well, you liked it, and I knew that I needed a hook that would get the Americans to watch it. So what should I do? And while recording this interview, he mentioned that he came across American drones that were shut down in Ukraine, and then he got his hands on it just to get the look inside how they were put together. And he had a very negative review of that. On that, he said that those drones that America sent to Ukraine in the initial days of the war were basically, well, they're not good. So I took that and put that in the beginning.
Okay.
Because I thought that if I'm an American guy who's into tech, I would want to see what another Russian guy who's into tech thinks of our equipment.
Yeah.
It's vice versa.
Yeah.
If an American guy comes across, or he, takes a Russian car, a lot of Niva, for a spin, that would be interesting for me as a Russian to see what this guy American thinks about our Russian car. So
Yeah.
it's just a simple example, one of many that I tried to apply, going forward with my videos. All right, thank you so much
Really
for
appreciate it.
this interview. Yeah.
This is a growing topic on the interwebs right now, is how much power should these large companies have? They do have a tremendous influence on our lives. They consume a tremendous amount of our lifetime, just our daily walking around, living. People are constantly on them. Moderation, or more like censorship, to be able to just take somebody off and just refer to the community rules. They can just take you off and they don't need to give a reason why. Now, some might say, by standard Western principles, that that's okay, that companies should be able to do what they want. But there's a reason why they got to this level of power that they currently have. And this is most specifically what should be investigated, how to prevent such a thing from happening. I can guarantee you it certainly wasn't by normal business means that happened. But now they're allowed to be able to censor us, to stop freedom of speech, if you believe such a thing still exists. There are very few sacred cows on X that you cannot transgress. But at the same time, this does allow a bunch of other content, a tremendous amount of sarcasm, a tremendous amount of, I guess you would say, lack of charity, lack of humanity in some of the comments and some of the thoughts that come across on X as well. We certainly appreciate X for the ability to not be censored for talking about things going on in Russia as a matter of fact. But it does have plenty of other problems. And these are all things worth considering. You should definitely follow Konstantin on X. You should also check him out on Telegram and on Rumble, which is still growing.
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Are they still in the running? I mean, I don't keep up with sports.
Not
Really,
football, anyways.
Yeah, football in the States anymore. But anyway, it sounded like a very Texan thing to say, especially on a Monday.
Yeah.
How about them Cowboys?
How about the Cowboys?
So if you can just let us know down in the comments, how are the boys doing? I really don't. Is Jerry Jones crying or is he happy? I don't know.
It's funny. People used to ask me who, because I'm from Dallas, and so is my dad.
So sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Don't hold it against me. I won't hold it against you. Texans outside of Texas are all Texans, and we're all one united group. But
Absolutely.
Texans know when we come back home.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like
You
family.
go to your corner. I'm going to mine.
That's right. That's
I
right.
don't want to see you out in public.
That's right. No, they used to ask my dad, so who's your favorite team? He said, whoever's playing the Cowboys on Sunday. That's it. Ever since Staubach, that was it.
How about them Washington Redskins? Oh, they're not Redskins anymore, are they?
Are they?
Yeah.
Didn't they come back?
No. I don't know.
Somebody needs to keep us up to date on the on that.
Because it wasn't politically correct, something like
Right.
that. As if two teams of men just converging and beating each other while they chase this pigskin around, which is not pigskin anymore, but you get it. You get it.
It's ethically sourced football. Anyways,
Back to the show,
okay.
please.
Pardon the diversion. Well, we heard from some great guests today. I don't know who your favorite was, but I'll tell you what.
Tell me.
Gabrielle is an absolute gem.
She is.
Absolute
gem.
She's, we know her very, very well. She's been here in Moscow for quite some time. She's just an extraordinarily feminine person. Got that old school French vibe about her. Just a real lady. She understands femininity.
Absolutely.
And she appreciates that. And she shows that to everybody around her.
And a timeless grace about her.
Yes.
As well.
Absolutely.
Just very lovely person.
Absolutely. For sure. How about you?
The most delicious. The most.
I wish y'all were here to taste this stuff.
If I could, if I may, sir.
Please.
Yeah. The most delicious guest,
Oh no.
Chef Titov.
Amen.
Huh?
Amen.
Wow. How about that cherry salt?
That's for sure. Oh, that cherry salt is amazing. I like the mushroom salt personally.
The mushroom salt, yeah, it is incredible. Cherry salt on steak. I'm telling you.
Think about
that. I'll tell you what.
People might try to start experimenting with these concepts in
You
America.
You should. Chef Titov has some amazing recipes. Find them. We'll have links down below. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and let's not forget about Konstantin. Konstantin is a scholar and a gentleman.
Absolutely.
He produces world-class content. I mean, people watch this stuff. There's this massive conspiracy about him. Oh, did you know in secret he used to work for RT? Like,
Yeah.
Haven't you heard of the internet?
Of course.
You could find anybody on the internet.
And as a content creator myself, behind the camera, I immediately gave so much respect to his craft and what he produces because it's absolutely masterful. And to me, he represents the gold standard of this type of documentary style content creation. He is a master, and it was my absolute pleasure to finally meet him in person.
For sure.
So, yeah, absolutely. Konstantin.
Absolutely. Well, we got some really good interviews, even better. They're increasing. We're expanding our types of guests and the kinds of guests that we're getting in. And I think that y'all are going to be really interested and excited to see these new interviews that are coming up in the weeks ahead.
Absolutely, because this is your window to Russia up close.
That's right. We'll see you next week on Russia Up Close. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Take care, and
До
до
свидания.
свидания.